She was no longer into that. It wasn't a big deal to her anymore, right? And you can all think in your mind, this is like in the simplest way to illustrate this, what it is to desire something so much. And all she would ask for Christmas had to do with Disney Princess. All she would ask for birthday had to do with Disney Princess. Like, that's all she wanted. That's all she asked for. It was a big stretch for me. I mean, I remember playing, role playing in these games. I would always say, can I, be the dragon or something? Do I have to be, Prince Charming? Please? And so we would have our own version of, this is a true story, I would take the Disney Princess stories and retell them and put more violence in them. It was awesome. There would be a lot better fight between me and the bad guy always. But anyway, some of you are just checked out. You're gone. You're not going to hear the rest of the sermon. Okay, stay with me. But there was a point where she outgrew that and she was no longer interested in it, right? But here's the thing. So when you begin to pursue and desire something, whether it's a relationship or something material or something controls and obsesses your worldly, carnal self, the part of you that is physical, then when that's gone, something else will take its place. You see this even in dating cycles. Some of you, seriously, have had more boyfriends. Listen, by age 16 and 17, some of you girls have had more boyfriends. Some of you guys have had more girlfriends by age 16, 17 than some people will have in their life before they marry. You just go because you can't stand not being with somebody. You can't stand not having somebody. Why? Because you desire that affection. You desire that attention. And only God can satisfy that. Nothing material, nothing you can own or possess or receive is going to give you permanent satisfaction. The lust of the flesh then would be defined this way. It's the lust or the desire for something, for anything that is worldly, that brings you instant, momentary self-gratification. I'll say it again in case you're a note taker. It's anything that brings you instant, momentary self-gratification. In other words, worldly lust or desire that is rooted in the flesh or the part of me that is natural or sinful is all about the here and the now and what I can have and get here and now. It's like, what do I get right now? I deal with, listen, 6 to 10 student pastors or pastors a year that we cross paths with who have sexual relationships outside of marriage. How does that start? Me and Joe were talking about this today. How does this start? Is it like one day this guy wakes up and says, I think today I will be unfaithful to my wife because of the eternal investment that it's going to bring me. No, it's like a slippery slope where the desires of the flesh are fueled and fed and fanned. And eventually begin to yield to those desires so that those desires become controlling and encompassing. I watched it happen with my father, who was a pastor for 20 years. Effective ministry. And he left our family. It was difficult. It was very difficult. Because he had a girlfriend? Are you serious? That was my response. I can still remember. I was 18 years old. I went, are you serious? Daddy's got a girlfriend? There's no way. He's a pastor. He's a man of God. He's a godly dude. Yeah, but when you start to yield to the desires of this world, the desires of this flesh, you don't think about future satisfaction. It's not about future. Nobody, I don't remember my buddies when I was 15, 16, 17. I don't remember any of my buddies going, as they're smoking weed, I don't remember any of them going, the main reason I like to smoke pot is because how it's going to make me think when I'm 40. You know what I'm saying? It's not about what's this going to do for me later. It's what am I going to get out of this now, right now. It's instant. The lust or the desire of the flesh is all about the here and the now. And here's the thing, even if it's all about the next 10 years or 20 years, it's still about the here and now because it's not about eternity. It doesn't have any eternal significance. My desire for you is that you live lives with eternity in perspective, in sight, in priority. Because that's all that matters. Because in just a few short breaths, you and I will stand before God. We'll stand before Jesus. And I want to give an account that's faithful, that's solid. You know what I'm saying? The lust of the flesh. So how do we deal with this idea, the lust of the flesh? Well, turn to James chapter 1. James is talking about this, and he says, basically gives us a little deal on how like the flesh works. Okay, so to define the flesh, so when we talk about the desire of the flesh or the lust of the flesh, to define the flesh, we would say that's the part of you that is natural and is born into this world, like it's physical, it's tied to this world. And so David says in Psalm 51:5, I was born in iniquity, and like my mother brought me forth in iniquity or in sin, and even that she conceived me. He says in like that he was conceived, like so from the earliest conception he was sinful. It's his nature because it's worldly. Okay? You're not a sinner because you committed sin. You committed sin because you're a sinner. I'm going to think about that. I'm going to have to chew on that. Psalm 51:5, David talks about that. So the flesh is that part of us that is rooted in sin. It's of this world, okay? So the desires that come out of that then are not godly desires, they're worldly desires. Okay, and James talks about this. He says this, blessed is the man who remains, in James 1:12, blessed is the man who remains steadfast under trial, for when he has stood the test, he will receive the crown of life, which God has promised to those who love him. So there again, the idea that if we love God, if we serve God, if we're faithful, if we submit to God, there's going to be a crown given to us. Let no one say when he is tempted, I'm being tempted by God. Don't say when you're tempted, I'm being tempted by God. Don't say, well, you know, I prayed and asked God to take the desire for this girl away from me. Like, you know, I wanted to date this girl. She's not a Christian. I know the relationship would not be pure. It would be sexual. It would be ungodly. Or just my parents don't want me to do it, so it wouldn't be obedient to them, so it would be ungodly. So I'm tempted to do it anyway because I like her so much. She's really cute, you know, or she's really popular, or she whatever, this or that. Don't say, God, take this desire away from me. You gave it to me or it wouldn't be here. No, like sinful desire doesn't come from God. When you're tempted with sin, God is not the source of that. God's not the source of your sinful desire. That comes from your sinful flesh. Okay? And so what he says is, he's saying, don't you dare say when you're being tempted with sin or evil that God is tempting you, because he's not. God doesn't tempt you with sin. Okay? He delivers you from it. All right? Then he says this, for God cannot be tempted with evil, and he himself tempts no one. But each person is tempted when he is lured and enticed by his own desire. Lured and enticed. It's a strong picture here. It's a strong picture here. I've got a fishing pole in here. I like to fish. I like to hunt. I like to hunt obsessively. It becomes my temptation sometimes. All right. Hey, I'm in the closet and I'm still talking to y'all. Pretty cool. You can't see me, but you can hear me. Here's my fishing pole. I'm ready to come out, but it's just fun talking on the microphone from back here. Feel like the Wizard of Oz. Yeah. Okay. So this is one of Tuck's little rods and reels. He's got like 10. He collects funny things. Okay, so there's a little crappie jig on here. If you're a fisherman, you know what that is. A little crappie jig. So what would I want to use that for? To catch, thank you, fisherman. Yes, to catch crappie, right? So I don't use a crappie jig to catch trout. You know what I'm saying? Okay, listen, this is a really good illustration that James gives us. This is straight out of the Bible. When he says each of us is lured away and enticed, he's using a fishing or a hunting or a trapping terminology. He's saying like that what happens is, and here's where Satan affects the believer. Okay, we talked about Satan the other night. We really try to define who he is. The way that he affects the believer is he takes bait, which is the desires of this world, the things that he knows will tempt us, and he puts the bait on the hook. What's the hook? Our flesh, the part of us that desires worldly things. So he puts that in front of you. He presents that to you, right? If one thing doesn't work, he puts something else on there. You know, if you like to fish, you go fishing. If one bait's not working, you try another bait, right? That doesn't. And I'm an impatient fisherman. Especially like if I'm on a lake and I'm working, and I'm working something on the top water, I'm like, it's not working. I have 4 or 5 tries in one hole, and I'm like, and I'm switching. I'm like ADD with fishing. That's why I'm not a good fisherman. Try something else, and then I try, and then I'm trying different baits, and if it's not working, I'm switching to another bait. Why? Because I'm trying to. But for me, it's like a lot of times just I'm blindly stabbing at it. A really good fisherman can look at the water